Warriors fans, we have some updates for you today. One player staying, one coach leaving, and another star player, all NBA player coming in. A lot to break down on this episode of Warriors Digest. Randy Silver here. Thank you for being with us. We're about to enter the draft a couple days away. Free agency starts next week. Please subscribe. Only 14% of the people watching are subscribed. You don't want to miss anything daily. All right, let's get into your updates. Kevon Looney reported in our last video, Warriors were not going to let him go. Cut him. Save $5 million. And it's official. Kevon Looney will remain with the Warriors for at least one more season, as the team on Monday guaranteed the final year of his contract, ensuring the veteran big man will remain with the franchise that made him the 30th overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft. I saw in the comments of that video, it was about mixed. Half and half, 50 yes, 50 no. Happy about it. Now, again, the thing is, $8 million is guaranteed. This does not mean potentially if he's not playing at the All-Star break area, he's potentially traded. It does not mean potentially he's not part of a trade to get an All-Star, All-NBA player coming back in the next couple weeks. He will earn $8 million on the Warriors or whatever team he may get traded to. I think he's a great backup center. I don't think this means we may not take a center in the draft. I think there's still a potential because he's got 1 year left. He will probably get $15, $20 million on the open market next year. So we need a backup center. We have TJD, but we really don't have anybody else. So I think this doesn't count us out of getting somebody in the draft as a backup center, third center on this team type of thing. Or B, him getting traded to bring someone back. So just know Looney is now considered pensioned in the NBA, going into his 10th season. And at this point in time, it will be with the Warriors. Let me know your thoughts. All right, update 2. Kenny Atkinson. We've been following this all spring, early summer. What's the update? Report, Cavs are hiring Warriors assistant Atkinson as the new coach. We've been saying he was in the front running, one of the final two. It's officially happened. They're just going through the crossing the I's, dot the T's. But maybe, I should not say officially, because the same thing happened with Atkinson a couple years ago going to the Charlotte Hornets. He accepted, and then a couple days later, he rescinded and came back to the Warriors. So maybe this happens again. I don't think so. I think he's going to stay at the Cavs. Woj is reporting, of course. That's how you know it's pretty official. Cavs are hiring Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson as the franchise next head coach, and sides are working on a contract that's expected to be completed soon. Also, just some history about him. Was a head coach before, if you didn't know that. 118, 190 regular season, all with the Brooklyn Nets. Reached the playoffs one time. Lost in the first round of the 76ers. He coached a couple of players who are currently on the Cavs at the Nets. Jared Allen as being one of them. That is why he's very familiar there, and they potentially would want him on the team. This is our assistant coaching staff right now. So you're losing Kenny Atkinson. He's basically our number one. Of course, Deji, rest in peace. He's not there. So we're going to have to fill a couple spots. In addition to this offseason outlook we've been talking about, what do you do with Chris Paul, Kuminga extension, potentially Curry extension, Klay Thompson free agency, GP2 has exercised his option. You now have some holes on the coaching staff. Monty Williams, getting paid by Phoenix, not there anymore. Getting paid by Detroit, getting the bag by Detroit, not there anymore. Would he be okay becoming assistant coach, taking a step back, and maybe become the Warriors head coach in 3 years? Kerr's contract ends in 2 years. Become the lead assistant coach in 2 years with the promise you'll be the guy on the Warriors in 3 years? Maybe. It's a thought. Experience comes in, coaching pedigree. Darvin Ham was also talked about. Of course, 2 years to the Lakers. Took the team to the Western Conference Finals. This year, crashed out in the first round to the Nuggets. He could be a good second man in command too. Here are the players currently on the Warriors right now. So again, you see Looney's $8 million is guaranteed. So we're at 174. The next big thing to know is Chris Paul's $30 million. Right now, recording is June 24th. We'll know June 28th at the latest what happens with Chris Paul. I'm sure they're trying to trade it, see what they can get out of it versus just cutting him outright. But if they come outright, that $30 million right here now makes us 144. Of course, that could be used to Klay Thompson. But what we will know is with that $30 million not guaranteed, 144. This takes us to below the tax threshold. So we'll be at 144, 171. If Klay's getting 20, 30 million on the open market, that puts you basically very close. So there's not a lot you can do. So there's things we're going to be figuring out, which is why you're subscribing to Warriors Digest, because this is coming thick and fast. Looney staying, Atkinson going. And the third part for today is this. Paul George. Yes, the Paul George. George has a $49 million play option for 2024 season that he could choose to decline to become a free agent with the free agency starting Sunday. But George is reportedly considering picking up his option as a means to facilitate a trade, and the Warriors could be a trade suitor. Now, again, I just showed you this right here. How do the Warriors do the trade if they don't have the money? Well, that means one, Klay Thompson's not resigning. So you don't have that out there. And two, Chris Paul is not coming back. That gives you $30 million to work with. However, Randy, you just said $48 million? Yes. So that means if he opts in and you do a sign and trade, we will have to lose players as well to match the salary up to $48 million. So that means potentially that would have to be Chris Paul coming in at $30 million. Maybe if Klay wants to go to LA, go back to his hometown area, even though he's a Laker guy. Boom, you sign him for potentially $20 million. And those two players right there put you at $50 million, making it even money. However, yes, I know, do not turn this video off. Don't say, Randy, you're stupid. Clippers aren't going to trade Paul George for just Klay and Chris Paul. That would be a terrible trade on their part. They're not going to do that. So there will have to be younger players thrown in and or trade assets. So keep a very close eye on the Warriors regarding Paul George if Klay Thompson leaves. If Klay leaves, then it would have to be Chris Paul's $30 million, then some players, maybe a Wiggins, makes it a little bit better. Kuminga, they're going to want a young star back next to Kawhi. Longtime NBA insider Mark Stein is reporting on this Substack. Again, it could be Chris Paul's $30 million non-guaranteed because we guarantee it and we have to use that in the trade. Of course, he can stay, but we need the match salary based off the apron. Chris Paul's family lives in LA. I've reported this many times. If you've been on this channel a lot, you know. Chris Paul stayed in LA overnight and would take a 6 a.m. Southwest flight up to San Francisco and then be there for the game and practices, whatever it may be. And he loved that. He said that it was amazing to be close to home, not close to home, literally be at home and spend the night. That's not normal in the NBA when your family lives in a different city. So he said he loved the Warriors staff, especially Steve Kerr, for allowing it to happen. And one of the reasons why he was okay coming off the bench was they made a great family life for him to be around his family. So if Klay leaves, keep an eye on Paul George potentially coming to the Warriors. Again, we could not do it just strictly in free agency. He'd be offering 50, 60 million. But Randy, again, how do we do that? If Klay is gone and say Chris Paul is gone, puts you at 144, and Paul George is getting 50 to 60 million, we're way over. And when we're way over, say 50 million out of 144 is 194, that puts you above the second apron. And there's a starters of Steph, Kuminga 2, George 3, Draymond 4, TJD 5, or Brandon 2, Steph 1, Paul George 3, Dre 4, TJ 5, or Steph 1, George 2, Kuminga 3, TJD 5, and Draymond 4. You see what I'm trying to do there? There's some combination where either Brandon or Kuminga will be coming from the bench if there's a sign. But again, coming out of free agency, can we do that with the tax implications? And also, would that give us enough depth on this team to be successful? Probably not. It's a very top-heavy team. George has been known to have some injuries, unfortunately. And I just don't see that team being successful down the line. If the Clips did want to take on Paul's salary, a potential deal would likely require Kuminga or Brandon along with Paul Looney's contract plus draft picks. If that were to work, again, let's go here. Looney, $8 million. Kuminga, $7 million. So that puts you at $15 million. Then you'd have to do Chris Paul, $30 million. Puts you at $45 million. Have to be draft picks to go in. And what do we have for draft picks? We have some first-round draft picks. We have some second-round draft picks. You would think they probably want to try to get a first from us to make that happen. So it would be tough. When we look at the Clippers, When we look at the Clippers here, again, Paul George is going his last deal. So he does have some control here because say he opts out. Well, Clippers left with nothing. And they got Kawhi as their number one and Harden right there. You can see Russell has an option as well. Does he want to stay? Same with PJ Tucker. So the Clippers moving into their new arena, into a dome, maybe looking different. So do you think Paul George coming to the Warriors is a good idea? That's the first question. And two, would you give up Kuminga, Brandon, and assets, draft assets? It's going to have to be Chris Paul, probably in sign and trade. Again, Clippers had Chris Paul for quite a while when it was Lob City. We're never able to get over the hump. A lot of that can be attributed to the Warriors. Does he go back and Chris Paul gets to play in LA and be at home on a nightly basis when they're not on a road trip? So comment your thoughts. Let me know. Of course, subscribe to Warriors Digest because we're going to be here for the Warriors news. Looney, here. Atkinson, gone. Paul George, here. We're going to find out soon.